Head over to thebestsongever.com and purchase our new hit, Together Again. It is a cover of Smokey Mike and the God King. That's Jeremy Boring and Michael Knowles. And with your help, we will smash our way onto the Billboard charts. A tweet from James O'Keefe. James, do you want to read this out and explain what's going on?
Yeah, so this is you're looking at here, I don't think anyone has reported this. At least our team has not been able to find this on the internet. If I stand corrected, let me know. This is breaking news from Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport this week. You're looking at a ticket counter piece of paper. This is given to immigrants, illegal immigrants, coming in the United States. They ship them from different parts of Arizona to a welcome center, a school in Phoenix, and then they're picked up in limousines. I'm not making this up. Black cars. That's an inside joke. Black cars. Like, by the way, did you know nonprofits are not allowed to hire black cars? It's against IRS rules. But these nonprofits, yes, I'm just making a joke. Project Veritas joke there. So these immigrants are picked up in black cars and dropped off at the airport. And these are documents that were given to me by various airport insiders. It says, quote, "Please help me print my boarding pass. I am a refugee and I do not speak the language. Thank you." We've redacted the confirmation number there to protect the insider at the airport. And a lot of these immigrants are not from Mexico. They're from all different countries across the world. The government claims it's vetting these individuals prior to putting them up on planes, but we're reporting that a lot of the insiders' tips contradict that. We found that agents responsible for vetting the identification are relying solely on their word, and they don't speak English. So it's fascinating here, Tim. And just to backtrack for a minute, for the audience, I was outside this airport. The airline insiders confronted me. "Oh my gosh, James O'Keefe, you have to help us." Every 30 minutes, the buses pull up. I interviewed the bus driver. He said he was with a company called Jet Limousines. And then we were able to figure out where they pick these people up. It's at a welcome center in Phoenix, Arizona. And they hire these car services to drop them off at the airports, and they're shipped across the country, New Jersey, New York, and places like that.
And technically, I think you would call that smuggling them across the country. You might call that smuggling.
We're under attack.
I followed up with Marianne Williamson last night, whose brother, we talked about immigration a bit, and her brother does immigration. He's a lawyer, and said that her brother said that each of these individuals should be receiving what's called a credible fear interview. And if you cannot establish that they have legitimate credible fear, you send them back immediately. You cannot take people in.
We haven't done that for years, right? The thing about the border is that this has been an issue for decades, and every political party has flip-flopped it. Bill Clinton, in his 1995 State of the Union address, said every American should be concerned about the number of illegal immigrants coming across the border. And instead, we just left a broken system to get worse and worse and worse. No wonder airline pilots and all sorts of community members are frustrated by this. I just think it's really funny that this, Turning Point sent all of these conservative people to Arizona while this was happening.
And everyone in the airport was noticing this.
Right. I mean, that was the thing. Ashley was there for it. You were there for that.
Now, hold on.
Yeah.
Our crew who flew through Chicago on their way saw the same thing in Chicago. Mm-hmm. So before even getting to TPUSA, we're getting messages from our crew being like, "Hey, we're on a plane. It's all illegal immigrants. They've got the bags and we're like, wow. And then they're being dropped off in Chicago." So from the East Coast.
I get hundreds of these messages from people and say I can't say who they are. "Hey, this is my throwaway account. I set up a fake X. Don't reveal my name so I don't get in trouble, but I know the location that we drop off migrants from Nogales, Tucson, Yuma here in Phoenix, so they all can go to Phoenix Sky Harbor." And they drop them off at this school, this welcome center, this school now turned welcome center. We get hundreds of people coming in. And anyway, I'm going back to Phoenix to follow up on this because this is a fascinating story. And they have all these car companies that they hire. I'm trying to figure out who's doing this. Is the feds, the state? There's a lot more.
Who's paying for it?
Who's paying for it? And by the way, one more thing about this, Tim, this whistleblowing. Let me just add that there's nowhere for these people to actually, these insiders to go. Obviously, they can't go to the New York Times.
Yep.
Because they'll hunt those people down like a trophy buck and print their real name. but there's no one. You got to have guts to publish these stories, and citizen journalism here.
I think it is not hyperbole to say the 2024 election is the last election.
Until the next one.
No, I mean, it in terms of what this country is, this is it. However, only if Joe Biden or the Democrats win. And I don't think it's hyperbolic. when you look at what's going on, the federal government has been facilitating the mass illegal migration into this country to the point where black residents in Chicago are on video right now screaming. This is no joke. An elderly black man got up at a meeting and said, "Trump, get in here and clean this mess up." I'm like, wow, when the Chicago black community is so fed up with the abuse, they're yelling for a Republican. That's how bad it's gotten. If the Democrats win in 2024, we will not survive 4 more years of 10,000 plus illegal immigrants every day.
What is your hypothesis that are they going to let them vote, or what do you think? You mentioned something about camps.
In Boston recently passed a bill for non-citizens to vote. New York has had similar provisions. Cities in California have had similar provisions. Yes, we are marching towards. We are a couple of years away. If the Democrats win, non-citizens, illegal immigrants will be slowly granted voting powers.
And they're all considered refugees because they can just claim that. I guess anybody can claim to be a refugee. I probably should go to Mexico and just slide. I mean, this is dangerous, but wear a hidden camera and just go across the border in disguise and just go through the whole process. That would be a good idea if we have any brave people that want to sign up on the OMG website.
What would happen if the U.S. brought in 15 million illegal immigrants, mostly fighting age males, and then just loaded them up on boats and shipped them off to to Taiwan and been like, okay, now you defend this place?
But Democrats would never let that happen because we use illegal immigrants to throw off the census data, right? Remember when Trump was like, I would like the immigration status to be on the census and
citizenship status.
And they were like, absolutely not. That's crazy. You're so racist. Well, I wonder why, right? Like, this is something that is the only reason someone would allow for this to happen is if they benefit from it in some way. And that's the issue here, right? All of the illegal immigrants, especially those who are actually, smuggled, brutalized, brought across in really dangerous and restrictive, terrible conditions. I mean, there was a story 2 months ago about a shipping container full of, I think it was 60 people who were all dead. They were being trafficked across the border. This is a brutal problem for everyone involved, right? I don't think you should cross into the country illegally, but I also think that by incentivizing illegal immigration, by saying, if you get here, we'll just put you on an airplane and send you wherever you want to go, we are making all kinds of people take crazy risk that we shouldn't encourage.
I think it could happen that a bunch, 15 million immigrants come across illegally and then get shipped off to Taiwan to defend the island, or to either Ukraine to defend Ukraine, but then they'd still get their census tally at whatever state they were in before they got shipped out. And then they get their citizenship if they survive.
If you're an illegal immigrant, you put in state. This is one of the issues, right? So if you come across the border illegally, they'll say you have a court date. It's in 3 years from now, but then you never go to that court date. So I don't know how we would then recall all of the people we allowed in illegally. You'd have to immediately send them, and we aren't good at that. We'd rather send them wherever they want to go in the U.S.,
Tim,
even though they don't have legal
I
status.
tend to keep this I keep my reporting pretty factual without making judgments. So how do you handle? I do see about 20% of comments. The kind of the empathy people have for these poor people who are in a horrible place, just trying to have a better life. How do you deal with that talking point from
These poor people want to have a better life?
Yeah, that type of thing you get.
I welcome them with open arms. I hope every poor person in the world who wants to come to America comes to America through the legal process properly.
Right.
And that legal process means it might take them 20 years, but they're all welcome to apply and join our community done right. Why? You get this talking point, like Marianne Williamson said the other day, migrants are a boost to the economy. And yes, you are absolutely correct when managed properly.
Right.
When we bring migrants in, like we did, she says, how many of your grandparents, were migrants? And I'm like, right, when they arrived on Ellis Island and said, now we will integrate and we will assimilate and be like the Americans. That's not what they're doing today. Today, they're cutting the razor wire and saying, everybody quick, run. And they're dumping these people in Chicago where they have nowhere to go. And now Chicago's like, we're going to build mass camps. Okay, look, what do you call large camps? And I mean, this is a literal question, not a rhetorical one. What do you call large camps where they house a political faction of people? The problem is, I don't want to say concentration camp because everyone just immediately thinks Nazi Germany. I am not arguing for prison or death camps, but quite literally, they are going to create migrant detention camps. These people are being shipped in Chicago, and they're building fences, and I think one of them got delayed, but they're putting them in schools. They're putting them in police stations. If Trump wins in 2024, I can already tell you what 2025 is going to look like. There's going to be videos of people being loaded up onto trains, onto buses, and sent to camps for deportation, and the left is going to screech like banshees, he's Hitler. It's happening again. Heavens me, quick, everyone take up your arms. They want it's 4D chess across the board, right? Everybody is playing some advanced strategy of victory. Lawsuits are being prepared. And what we're seeing today will have massive impacts in the next 2 or 3 years and longer, obviously, throughout the history of this country or what's left of it. But what's being done today, there is a plan for what comes next.
Yeah, I told you guys this. I think you and Michael Malice the other night. Einstein, when the Nazis were coming to power, he saw it early and got out of the country and fled to the United States. And
people have already fled the U.S.
I'm feeling that right now, and I don't like that, but that is what I feel and what I see is like, yo, if mass illegal immigration, record high inflation, world wars all popping up all over the place, the people arresting their political opponents, like, okay, guys, and I don't want to black pill you, and I don't want to give up on this wonderful constitution we got, but what does the country even mean? Is it the land that you live on? Is it the constitution that's bit? Is it the people that are running the military? Like, what is this country?
I mean, that's the question, right? I don't know where you would like to go if you were to leave the U.S. One of the
El
issues,
Salvador,
maybe. I mean, there are interesting places. One of the issues is countries are built on a sense of patriotism and a sense of community and loyalty, right? And so you would theoretically want to stay and fix it. On the other hand, I understand the instinct to be like, it's just going up in flames. I need to leave. And I think that there are people who immigrated to the U.S. from their own countries, legally immigrated here, who made the same decision. And I wonder what their conversation is like right now. Do we stay in the U.S. where we went for a better life and try and fix it?
I met a guy at MGM National Harbor playing poker. And, you're at the poker table, you're shooting a shit, you're talking. And he mentioned he was from El Salvador. And I was like, oh, I hear it's getting really, really good down there. This was a few months ago. And he goes, yeah, actually, my family's moving back. You're going back to El Salvador? He's like, yeah, crime is way down. The economy is doing really well. So my family wants to go home. And I was
better
like,
to be a poor farmer than a meddle in the politics of
How
man.
is the First Amendment in El Salvador? I don't know the politics of that. They have Article 3 courts protect the first. I think it's a very important thing in the United States.
I think the issue is not about the Constitution and the First Amendment. When we had free speech in the 70s, they still arrested George Carlin for swearing. The issue is, do you have good leaders? And so my view is, I believe that Nayib Bukele would respect legitimate journalistic endeavors.
Who's that?
He's the current president. Although I'm not going to pretend to know enough about the government functions and guaranteed rights. The corporate press in the United States argued that he was a despot for arresting all these gang members and cartel members and things like that. But, spare me. These people the New York Times are grotesque monsters.
Yes. I mean, I think that's one of the tests that we're going to find here in this year is the limits of the First Amendment, because you talk about camps in Chicago. That may be true, but if that is true, I guarantee you there's going to be video inside of there and things leaking like a sieve. We're going to get so much information. I think what you're going to see this year is going to be horrible. That's the bad news. The good news is all the horrible things will be captured on video and leaked to the world.
But my concern is deep fakes. What's coming up?
I think everyone always talks about AI, and if I knew the solution about AI, I'd be a billionaire, because everyone wants to know the solution to AI. But I think the discipline of verification has been a thing that's been there for 100 years. You have to check things out. You have to verify.
Look, man, a year and a half ago, I made a deep fake of Nancy Pelosi, and it was a grotesque, disgusting picture, and it was hilarious. Mm-hmm. A year later, AI is so good, you can make a photorealistic picture of Nancy Pelosi. When it comes to video, verification is not the issue. And I'll give you the example. Donald Trump stands up at a rally and says, you had very fine people on both sides, and I am not talking about the white supremacists because they should be condemned totally. We know that video. We know the media manipulated and cut out of context what Trump said. He said, I am not talking about the Nazis and the white nationalists. They should be condemned totally. The deepfake issue is not going to be a video of Donald Trump saying something racist. The deepfake video I'm scared of is Donald Trump saying almost 99% verbatim what he did say. But what they'll do is they'll change it. So whereas Trump actually said, and they should be condemned totally, the deepfake version will go, some of them should be condemned totally. And then no one will know which one is the original video because they're near identical. The left will say, some of them should be condemned? Oh, man, he's saying some of the Nazis are good. And then you'll argue, no, he didn't actually say some of them. That's deep fake. No, you're lying. You made the deep fake. Trump was defending them.
Right.
Biden already launched his campaign off that lie. And so that's one example of the fear a single word being
I
changed,
see.
and it will be weaponized, and there's no verification of it.
Also, like a presidential address could be deep faked.
Do you guys remember when Jim Acosta tried ripping the mic out of the hand of that White House aide? And the country was split. Half of people were like, she tried ripping the mic from Jim Acosta's hand. And then the other half was like, Acosta tried ripping the mic from her hand. And no one knew for sure. I think it's fair to say. And there were all these deep analysis videos, drawing lines and like figuring it out. It's fairly obvious that Jim Acosta was pulling the mic to try and he was trying to hold it, and she grabbed it, and then he jerked to try and pull it back from her because he was trying to yell at Trump. But either way, you have a video and no one agrees what happened.
Yeah, but they had to kind of quote George Carlin when he talked about the world plus plastic. There'll be a new paradigm where that will be what you just described will be happening to everyone. And if that is true that do it to Trump, then both sides will do it. You mentioned something about Pelosi. So there'll just be a new paradigm where people will distrust things a little more, perhaps. And journalism is all about trust. And who do you trust? But I still stand by my statement. The discipline of verification is something that existed before video. I mean, people in newspapers report according to people familiar with the matter. And they're reporting anonymously sourced statements that we don't have video of.
Right.
So don't those journalism rules apply to this new era?
When everything is questionable, people will simply choose what confirms their bias.
Okay.
So with deepfakes getting as good as they are, yeah, you're gonna say, oh, hold on, was Trump even really at that rally? And then you'll pull up the video and you'll be like, okay, Trump really was there. Did he actually say this? There's two versions of the same event.
You imagine a riot and then they deep fake somebody into the riot and then that person gets arrested for being at the riot.
January 6th
Crap
photos?
like that. Yeah, stuff
Oh,
like
dude,
that.
let me ask you. This is the reality of politics and a low
You're
trust
talking
society.
about a post-truth society.
We are there. If a police officer says you broke the law, you did. Good luck. Good luck. You go to court and you get a speeding ticket and you say, Your Honor, I wasn't speeding. The cop says, Your Honor, he was speeding. Guess what? You lose. That's it.
I mentioned to you in Miami at the event that we did, the IRL event, that I thought O'Keefe Media Group, a cool thing to do would be to build some technology that can identify deep fakes.
Right.
Because you've got the trust. And that would be cool coming from you and your organization or an organization that you work with.
I think trust is critical. Journalistic trust. They trust me. Why? Because of what I've been through. And there are other people they trust too. But I think that's critical. And I don't know enough about technology to build that, but it's a good idea. But I also think here's one thing they can't fake. The person on the inside going public, the courageous thing. That can't be a fake. If someone says, I work for the IRS, the lowest learner, or I work for the FBI, or I work for this institution, and you know what? I'm jumping on a grenade for my country. That's a real thing, isn't it? And then there's a reaction from the institution.
There's always
you could
counter intel ops and things like that.
There is.
Like,
But there is. You're talking about a totally fake world where totally I'm a little bit more of an optimist. I believe there is one truth.
And
it can be verified through multiple sources.
Like if one guy
look,
sends you a video of another, he basically acts
James,
as if he's someone else.
Let me just tell you
how many people think you are a far right?
They've been saying that for 20 years, but I've stopped using those words recently. They say a doctor tapes. That was Tim. They used to say 10 years ago.
Right.
Remember that? He's the tape doctor. He doctors the tape. I'm like, can you just name one? By the way, I have no money. I'm using Final Cut 7. I wish I knew how to. They said with the Acorn story that I put CGI to make the people's lips move. I'm like, I don't even know how to put the font other than Courier New. But the last 24 hours of my life, here's what I did. I had people message me from Jet Limo, another Jet Limo, 5 sources, and I was corroborating the information I had by talking to multiple sources inside the company to verify that guy was the real person's name. This is what journalists do. They verify information by getting multiple accounts of the version of events to ensure that the thing that they're looking at is real.
I think that's what ethical journalists do.
But
no
one does that anymore.
That's what I mean. There's
Nobody
a whole class
has
of
the
journalists
time,
who
and it's laziness, it's incompetence, it's a lack of, usually it's economics. But my point is that video of me talking to the bus driver, if that wasn't my video, which it was, but he said, I work for Jet Limousine. I do facecheck.id. I find his picture online. There's his LinkedIn. I talk to his colleague. I talk to his boss. Then I publish the video. So I verified that the video that I've taken is real. And you're right. That doesn't happen anymore
and it's,
on
the thing
social
is,
media.
I feel like, and maybe I'm biased, but like conservative, moderate journalist would maybe take all those steps. But someone who is trying to smear someone says, I don't care if it's not real. In fact, I would prefer if you do not follow up with me at all, do not see that I have not.
Or they paint, the New York Times reporters paint this elaborate, using words like document show how far the conservative group would go to not run afoul of the law. Another way of saying that is we check with our lawyers to make sure what we do is legal, but they make it word it in such a way.
Or like this person who has been accused of doctoring tapes based on some random, blog post from the internet that is also not verified, that has no backup.
That's
they
right.
Then cite that it's just repeating the lie and making it bigger. I mean, it's the idea of like basically being a Google felon, right? False information reported about you that becomes part of the
circularly sourced information.
Right.
Yes.
So
Wikipedia.
If you got a video and they're like, this guy said this racist stuff at the company, this executive, and then it
turns out to be a deep fake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
How do you verify that?
I mean, one of the ways you verify it, for example, is getting it from two different sources from two different angles, and there are different ways. I mean, there's no hard and fast rule on how to verify the thing. But I tell my reporters, if you put a gun to your mother's head, are you 100% sure that's true before you report it? And that's the standard. And Tim, I mean, it's a good point. It's worth discussing. I think there's got to be a way in this post-truth world to verify that what you're looking at is real.
There are people who care about the truth and want to know and will verify, and I think those are the people who are on our side.
Yeah, they'll be
contacting you. And then there are
you.
Mindless zealots who don't care. I mean, did you see Hassan Piker's response to Ashley St. Clair?
No, I didn't.
He made this ridiculous low IQ tweet where he was like, oh my God, foreigners are flying on planes. How could this possibly happen? Oh my God, send help. And all of his fans are laughing and clapping for him because it's like when you got mindless drones who don't know or don't care, there are two kinds of people in this world. I mean, the truth is there's like a ton of different kinds of people, but right now you've got the people who are more independently minded and they're wondering, what am I doing and is it right? And then you have the other group that says, I just want to have the pitchfork and be in the mob. That's it.
Yeah, I think 2024, it's the year to focus on the people that care about the truth, and the other people are just going to be friction.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.